Ukrainian President Zelensky came out with a new message, and people are very curious about what's happening right here on this shoulder. You can kind of see it looks like there might be a green screen behind him. And people are asking, why is the president, Zelensky, using a green screen if he is in fact still in Ukraine, standing in front of Kiev, where he is apparently broadcasting? A lot of open questions. We're going to take a look, though, at what Reuters was reporting. You see, none of that was mentioned. They just sort of said, here he is. He came out. He is calling for comprehensive peace talks with Moscow, saying that they're going to recover from its losses. Otherwise, it's going to take several generations. Now, we see here, this got 655,000 views when I clipped this earlier, and that number has just gone up and up and up. Now, their clip from Reuters came out was 2 minutes and 52 seconds, posted 10:49 at March 19, 2022. And when you watch that, it's a clip, right? It's a Reuters clip. They just kind of share and clip out what they want to, and kind of it's got an over narration and all that stuff. We'll skip it, but you can see exactly what it's looking like. And here, this is the actual full video of this that came over from Christopher Burgess. Now, we're going to learn more about Christopher Burgess here. He's got a blue check mark, and we'll see what his background is because it's fun. But we notice that he is out here flying the Ukrainian flag, saying this evening's message from Ukraine to Ukraine from Zelensky. Their message says this, quote, "Meaningful peace and security talks for Ukraine are the only chance for Russia to reduce the damage. Time to talk. It's time to restore territorial integrity and justice for Ukraine." And here is what that sounds like. Now, this is how this clip starts, and I want to pay close attention to this. This one's a full 9 minutes and 52 seconds. Now, this is very important because this is a full through and through. But there are cuts in this, and you're going to see they do the zoom cut. So the zoom cut is something you see a lot on YouTube. I don't ever do it because I don't, if you see a cut, whatever, you're going to see the cut. But some people will sort of make it look artistic, and so they'll cut and then they'll zoom and sort of make their point, and then they'll zoom back out and carry back on. And that's because they screwed something up, and they sort of want you to not see that. You're going to see that in this clip here, but it's also 9 minutes and 52 seconds, which means, this is sort of either they're intentionally trying to get it under 10 minutes, or there's a script that he's reading, right? He's got a message to say. This is an address. This isn't just sort of an impromptu conversation. This is something that is intentional. And we've seen some other videos that have come out from Zelensky, and I'll show you those in a minute. My point here is that there is some intentionality behind this. And here is how the clip that comes over from Burgess started, and also how the Reuters clip started. Let's watch. Usually on such days, we used to say spring has come, but now we are saying war has come. But we will definitely defeat everyone, no matter what, because we are free people of a free country. Today, government officials have elaborated the decision to fully reboot the customs service. Okay, so then he goes into his message. And let's listen to that one more time, how it starts out. All right, so we heard that. Now, this is going to be the full clip. So this is the one that we saw how that started. He just kind of started talking. And of course, I do not speak Ukrainian, but you could hear what he said. Now, this is something that came over from Spriter99880 on Twitter. Says this is the Zelensky clown show. And this one starts a little bit differently. This one's got almost 1 million views. Let's watch this one. This one's only 44 seconds. So this is the beginning of how Zelensky started that big address.
Добрий вечір всім. Зазвичай в такі дні ми говорили, прийшла весна.
Oh, so they cut out that first part of the sentence there. I'm not sure if you paid attention to that, but there was like basically a full sentence that got cut out. Don't know what that was exactly. But the big takeaway is this. This is where he's sort of walking up. Then he starts, and all of the other sort of clips that you see from Reuters and elsewhere are cutting that out. They start after he gets through his first sentence, and they pick it back up. So a lot of people are watching this, and they're saying, well, that's kind of weird. What's going on here? It seems like he's sort of coming out from the earth, like he's emerging from the ground from a perspective angle. He's sort of not walking on top of the ground. He's sort of emerging through the ground. Now, it's hard to sort of communicate that in a two-dimensional format here, but he's kind of coming like right through. Right, kind of coming right out of the screen. And so you can see that it doesn't seem like that is how physics and the three-dimensional world work. And so people have questions about this. They're saying, well, that's just doesn't feel right. It feels weird. It feels like maybe there's a green screen there. And that's been interesting because for quite some time, what we have been sort of barked at by the media is that he has been there in Ukraine, in Kiev and other places around. And we've seen him out there on the streets with his colleagues, with other people from his security apparatus saying, we're on the streets, we're not leaving, right? The boots are on the ground and we're not going anywhere, in other words. And so now people are saying, well, if that's the case, why is he standing in front of a green screen, sort of looking like he is trying to fit in an outside environment? It doesn't just look or feel right. Other people on Twitter, this person, Disclosure BP, are noticing this. They say here, the horizon line for the background and Zelensky would match if he was there. They don't. He's in front of a green screen. Did Reuters remove the beginning to hide that? Maybe that's why they clipped it out, because you can see we've got different horizon lines that this Twitter user, Disclosure Backpack, is detailing for us here. Says this is the top of the base. We've got the collar end position, the collar start position, the Zelensky horizon line, the cuff start and the cuff end. The cuff starts here. So he's basically superimposing two. You can see, the one outline of Zelensky's back here, and then the one outline of Zelensky's through, sort of around him here, coming up and around. And so we can see that the cuff goes this way. Cuff position here, collar start position is here to here, but that's not what is behind him. We've got the top of the base is back here, background horizon line, and the bottom of the base. So this person is detailing, I think, geometrically how this is working. To me, it just doesn't look right. So I don't know how, maybe that makes sense to you. It sort of makes sense to me, but it just doesn't look right is really what I kind of take from that. And here is the shout out from Jack Posobiec. Posobiec caught this also, said, did Reuters edit out the beginning of Zelensky's video? And he boosted that puppy, so it's got 1 million views there. And we saw this thread from Alexei Aurora, and he gives us some more details. Now, this is what I was mentioning at the start of the video. It says, allow me to highlight why this video released by Zelensky is a green screen fake. Couple good reasons here. It says the background is solid static, nothing in dynamics. Okay, nothing's moving around in the background. Like they just put a still image back there. You'd see some movement. You see something blowing or some sort of some artifacts back in the screen. You don't see anything there. Zelensky is in cold lighting, but the background is warm, right? You see how the face of him looks like you kind of are shining a flashlight on him, like a spotlight's on him, and it looks like it's got a sort of a whiter color than a yellower tone. Back here, this looks yellow, depending on your screen and what you're looking at. Has a little bit more of a yellow hue to it versus this is a little bit whiter. And you can see his left arm glitches, and then it goes transparent at number 1. So right here, you can sort of see through. Now, probably because his shirt is probably not far off from the green, whatever the background color is, that they are using there. And we've got additional reasons 4 and 5. We can see here, no background inner noise, typical for outdoor locations. And the weather is also freezing. At night, it's below 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees. In Kiev, there's no vapor coming out of his mouth to suggest that he's outdoors. And he's also out there for 10 minutes based on the entire time that it took him to complete that entire speech. Somebody else named NPC Don of TATT says, I messed also with this for a second, cropped it, brightened it just a bit, turned down the tone a little bit. You'll notice it's not just the one shoulder that errors out, it's the other shoulder as well. Let's watch. So watch this slowly. You'll notice here, error. So we'll do that again. He's going to come up and say something. And now he's good. But we're going to watch the other shoulder when he comes back up. So watch this shoulder here. Yeah, that's glitching. There it is. Yep, see that? All right, so I think it's pretty evident that it's a green screen. Now, the question, of course, is, why? Why is he having to do that if he's still there in Kiev? What's he doing in front of a green screen? This guy, as I mentioned at the start of this, Christopher Burgess. Now, Christopher Burgess came out and posted this right away, March 18th, said, this is what's going on here. Today's message to Ukraine. Now, when you learn a little bit more about this guy, Christopher Burgess, and you look at his profile, guess what? Let's look at his background. Oh, 30 plus years with the CIA. Now, I don't know, what that means, if anything, but I just thought it was hilarious that the first place that I saw this video was from this guy. And then he's 30 years with the CIA. It's like, are you even trying to hide it? Now, look, we know that Zelensky has been out there, presumably, because we saw videos like this. This one came out from him February 25th, almost a month ago, saying that he was there. This one got 19.2 million views, and it looks like it's kind of the same area, but this is what that one looked like when he was, in fact, there. Okay, moving camera. You see some movement in the leaves, people moving around.
Я закликаю складати зброю, нашу армію і йде евакуація. Значить так, я тут, ніяку зброю ми не складемо, будемо захищати нашу державу. All right,
so he doesn't move it much more after that. We see this one comes over from this user, very long username, says, I'm somebody who uses green screen technology that shows contradictory light through the light source. Yellow is the direction of the light source, which is the exact opposite of the natural light source. Zelensky had already fled. This was somebody who is sharing this on Twitter, right? You see another image here. This is, I think, a Chinese user was sharing this on some website. And here you've got people who are analyzing the light. You see here, right? It looks like very, very bright sunshine kind of coming or something from this direction. But that's not what you see in other places. Like, it's not like he's standing on the beach and the sun is coming up here, right? The rest of the environment looks like the sun is sort of at noon, or it's very cloudy and overcast. You don't see this sort of shiny focal point on his face. And so it's very interesting. A lot of people are wondering, what is this all about? What's going on here? Other people saying it's obvious, right? Obviously a green box. Look at the clothing. How can he stand like that when it's -6 degrees Celsius? It's nuts. Obviously in a studio, you can hear his voice. In a small studio, there's no surrounding sounds, even for a quiet night, right? And microphones and audio, it's complicated. He sounds pretty good for being standing out there in -6 degrees Celsius. But then we have somebody else named Steve. Steve Matthews says, yeah, it's obviously a green screen. Who cares? Why have him on a plain blank wall when they can fill in an outside image? Do you agree with that? I think the problem with that, Steve, is that there are implications that he's standing there in Ukraine, right? All TV stations employ that technique nowadays. That's true, but they're not detailing the weather out there in Ukraine. The Olympics in Japan seemingly had TV studios suspended in midair. Again, it's a little bit of a different situation there, Steve. So the big question, of course, comes over from the always estimable Robert Barnes. Robert Barnes said, obvious green screen. It is true. Says, is Zelensky still in Kiev? It's a good question. And I think that's the takeaway, right? A lot of people have been implying he's been there, saying that, he's been sort of like this fearless leader who's going to be there and standing there till the last man, fighting to keep the morale up of his soldiers, fighting against the invasion. And if that's true, that's true. But then why does he need to use these green screens? And why is the media clipping it out and allowing the perception that he is still there to carry forward? Is it useful? Of course it is. What do you think? Is he still there? Do you agree with Robert Barnes? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love it if you shared this video with a friend or family member, if you invited them to come over. And if you haven't already, I'd also love it if you subscribed so that we can see each other on the next one. I look forward to seeing you there.